right, is everybody ready? Yeah! All right, now here we go. A one, a two, a one,
Let's get it on, y'all. Welcome back to Get Sunday Covered Podcast. I'm your commissioner, Cody. I'm joined today, as always, our co-host, Brandon, aka Tiggle Gritties. And we've got a special guest with us today. Welcome to the show, Mr. Revenge of the Aints 7, my man. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Happy. It's good to see you, man.
You too.
I love it. All right, guys, we're going to have a different episode here for us today, a little player specific. We want to give our audience a chance to get to know our league a little bit better so we can put a little bit of a face to the names of some of these teams, talk about, their involvement with GSC, some of the, their strategy and all things really fantasy football. But Brandon, man, how you doing today, buddy? It looks like you missed out on the jersey memo.
I guess so. I still got the hoodie on at least, but yeah, I'm at work, so it's a little bit kind of sucks working Sundays, but makes it a little bit easier to get. Hey, it makes it easier to get through the day when you can watch football all day long.
You know what? That's not a bad point, man. But just to clarify, in case it ever comes across, you are recording this on your lunch hour, right?
Yes, on my lunch hour, so I'm not getting in any trouble. Nope.
Gotcha. Well, 7, it looks like you got your Sunday covered. I hope everybody else did too. What's up, man? Tell everybody a little bit about yourself. How are you doing? How's the fam? What's going on in the world of Revenge of the Aints?
Oh, man, other than being terrible at fantasy football lately, we're doing good, man. Like, we got Lily in jiu-jitsu. She's took to it pretty good, and she loves it. So she won't even let her miss practice. She gets all upset about it. So do that every Monday and Wednesdays, but other than that, man, just hard at work and getting through the days. Counting down to Sunday.
Right. Well, that's cool, man. That's really cool. I'd love to hear that. What do you tell us? What do you do for work? Your auto body, is that right?
Yeah, I do collision repair. So if you wreck your vehicle, and I fix it.
Sweet. Well, yeah. Hopefully I never have to come see you then.
Yeah. Hope never to see anybody, but I'll get you all fixed up either way.
Nice. Well, it sounds like you definitely got your hands full with family and work and jiu-jitsu and those things. Does that make it tough to fit in time for fantasy football? Your record would suggest so.
I wish I had an excuse for why I was so bad, but I don't. Hey, sometimes the draft doesn't play in your favor. That's all it is.
That is true.
Like, who would have expected having, Eckler and Derrick Henry as your first 2 picks and being 0-3 to start the season?
I'm dealing with that same pain. I've been missing Eckler on one of my other leagues too, so I know that's been rough. All right, man. So let's take it back a little bit. You've been with GSC for a while. When did you finally join this league? I know it's been a few years at this point.
Yeah, it looks like I started back in 2019 after you tried to recruit me for a good amount of time. So, 4th year. So running strong.
Squeaky wheel gets the involvement. I finally talked you into it. If my math is correct, and Brandon's put together some stats, rough year last season, kind of a rough start to this season, but overall, since your involvement with Get Sunday Covered, pretty decent win percentage. Talk to us a little bit about some of the years past. You missed out on the championship so far, as some of us continue to do, but walk us through some of that and your experience with Get Sunday Covered so far.
Yeah, man, it's been a good experience overall, but I started back in 2019, started strong. That was whenever I had McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, and Lamar Jackson on all three of their big breakout seasons. And then after that, it's just, I think 2020 was an all right year. And in the last couple of years have been, this year included, just been pretty rough for me, But we get through it. You got to shake off those losing seasons. You can't let them beat you down. And, I finished 6-8, but I went back and looked at my record on some of those games. They were all pretty close. I had Eckler and Tyreek Hill that were carrying my team for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah. Those
Yeah,
two players tend
absolutely.
to do that.
So Seven, how long have you been playing fantasy? I have a feeling that you started before GSC.
No, man, I started with Get Sunday Covered. That was first time I did fantasy football, and I kind of just winged it my first year, and then I got all in my head about it. But no, I started with the league, and I feel good about it. It's fun, but it's weird going from different leagues where I have Get Sunday Covered where it's super involved, and then I have other leagues where nobody talks at all. So, but that's what keeps me coming back every year.
How many leagues are you in?
This year I am in 4. And I'm 2-1 in 2 of them, and then 1-2 in the Reaper League, and 0-3 in ours.
The one that counts, right?
Yeah, the one that actually matters to me.
Yes,
So
that's
is
usually
GSC your only money league, or are you in any other money leagues?
No, I run a league that's $20 for a buy-in, and then I got into another league this year that a coworker of mine runs. That's $20 as well for the buy-in.
okay. So you got some money there at stake. That's
Yeah.
I believe they call that diversifying the revenue. So even if it goes rough in one league, you still got a chance in some of the others.
Exactly. I think the worst I did was was in 5 leagues one year, and one of them was $100 league, and I did awful in that. I think I only won like 3
man.
games the whole season. I was just
Ouch.
sitting there beating my head about it. I abandoned it pretty quick too once I was noticed I'm not winning anything here. So put my attention into other things.
So
Gotcha.
Seven, just tell me, what are some of your favorite memories within GSC or fantasy football at all?
Man, it gets real fun. Like last week when I won my first match in the Reaper League, that gets real exciting, at some of the things where it wipes away your bad records or your bad days, and you can hey man, I won this. And then I was talking all the mess in the chat where I was, real amped up to Ryan. I didn't think I was actually going to win it because Devontae Adams put up 40 points. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to pull this off, but I did last minute. So, it's moments like those that make fantasy football real exciting for me.
Definitely. How do you feel about being labeled the league's best trash talker?
Hey,
What's your secret, man?
It's the quality of the shit that you talk, not how much you do it. I feel sometimes where Brad was like, "Oh, I don't know where you guys are seeing this news at," and you provide just a Google link. That's it. Stuff like
the
that.
good old
That's
internet.
what gets people going.
Absolutely. Well, that's good stuff, man. Well, we're definitely happy to have you as part of Get Sunday Covered. It's been a pleasure having you in the league. And one thing that I've really appreciated is even with a rough stretch that you've had to end up last season and to begin this weekend, is you're still always super involved. And I think one of the things that you pride yourself on is even if the outlook overall is a little grim, you're happy to try to play spoiler as it goes along. And obviously, we're early in the season now, so that anything could happen. I mean, 0-3 really doesn't mean anything at this point. But even just touching back on some of last year, like you take pleasure in being able to kind of screw the chances for other people, even if you don't make the winners bracket. And I appreciate that. I think that's exciting.
It makes the best out of losing. Like I'm watching mine and Ryan's One Great Taste matchup right now, and I'm up 58-14, but I have nobody else to play. But we're getting closer and closer as far as the projections are going, as far as who will win it. Right now, I'm beating him out, but he's still got 3 players left after the morning slate to play. So we'll see what happens. But I'm rooting for myself every week.
As it should be, as it should be.
Yeah.
So, Seven overall, just kind of looking at, previous season, overall, you finished the last. So definitely a lot of, motivation going into this year. So how are you really feeling about your team so far in 2023?
While I'm at a rough start, I still feel confident that this team can get it done. Like I paid close attention to how I drafted. I've made a couple additions, with picking up Tutu Atwell. And I've got Jonathan Taylor stashed on my IR in case he gets traded or comes back to the Colts. It's moves like that where I make sure to kind of have a little bit of leeway. Like Dameon Pierce, he started off pretty rough, but right now he's doing pretty good. DJ Moore is up to 17 points right now. And, there's certain things where I made bets on these players and I'm letting them ride out. And so far, while it may not look the best as far as records go, I think that they can, get it done. And I'm confident in some of my decisions here.
Yeah, I think you raise a good point there, man, is really letting the bet ride on some of these players. I think that's a really good way to put it. For example, Drake London, everybody talks like, are we getting rid of him? Should we get rid of him? Should we drop Drake London? It's been trash. You're riding it today. He had a morning there in London. That's a nice solid start to your day. A couple other players, I think really, we've talked about it a few times on this show about, with the 10-team league like this and competitive players, essentially all of these teams should be competitive,
Right.
So I think you've got something good to build off of.
Yeah, man. The waivers are kind of hard to pull at this point. Like, I feel like we're all on top of it. Whereas in other leagues, like I'm able to go pick up Nico Collins right off the bat or Tank Dell, where he's just sitting there on waivers. Nobody's paying attention to him. And, in our league, there's nobody on waivers. You can't go find a running back or anything to save your life unless it's, some four-string backup that's never going to see the play.
Right. Yeah. Running backs are definitely kind of a hot commodity. And I think Brandon's got something prepared for us. Actually, you wanted to chat a little bit about. We still don't have any trades that have taken place here in GSC, but we do have a number of players that are on the trade blocks. Last time I checked, we were up to like 13 different players out there just looking for some offers to be made. Tell us, I think you had something go on with Ryan. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So me and Ryan were in serious trade conversations for a while where, he really wanted Eckler. This is one of the better offers that he sent me over was Zach Moss, Brian Robinson, and Breece Hall for Derrick Henry and Eckler. I'm going to probably sit here at some point and kick myself for not accepting that trade. But at the same time, like Eckler's a league winner, man. Like when he comes back healthy, on week 6, because he started practicing this week, he's going to be up there as far as like points every week with, CMC. I went back and looked last season. He had 9 games over 20 and 4 of those were over 30. So he definitely crushes it. The biggest draw of that trade offer was Zach Moss, who is currently doing terrible, I want to point out, but has been doing pretty good as far as the season's gone, where he's got mostly 20 points over the past couple weeks. So it's hard to turn something down like that. But at the same time, it gets back to what I said earlier. You got to believe in these players that you draft at some point, and, can't overly rely on trades to get you through on something. Zach Moss may only see use until Jonathan Taylor comes back if he doesn't get traded. So that makes that trade like, all right, Taylor comes back, then I traded Eckler away for Breece Hall and Brian Robinson, or just Breece Hall and got Brian Robinson out of Derrick Henry, and sometimes stuff like that, it doesn't balance out to me, or it doesn't feel sound in my opinion to actually ride on it a little bit.
Okay. I'm curious, just you mentioned, Jonathan Taylor coming back and things like that. Was there no desire to maybe capitalize on that handcuff with Zach Moss at all?
Because I look at it, even if I got a handcuff, I'm losing Eckler in the deal of it. You don't want to trade a number 1 running back who's been the number 1 and number 2 overall running back for the league for
Sure.
somebody that's just going to disappear. If Jonathan Taylor got injured or there was fear of injury, then it would be a little bit different. But he's coming back healthy if he does come back. And Zach Moss wasn't doing much with Buffalo either. So I think he's just capitalizing on what was going on with the beginning of the season. I don't think he'll see much, high numbers like he was. He's sitting at 0 now. He's got 3 carries for no yards.
Rough
Yeah,
start.
Seven. Another thing I kind of want to touch on is you and I. We've had, quite a little bit of chit chat with each other. It seems like you're pretty interested in chasing after Kamara
Hey
right
man,
now.
gotta support my man.
Yeah, I mean, we talked back and forth, and I think right now I'm kind of in a hold state just because I want to
Yeah.
see what he can do. But that doesn't mean, 2-3 weeks down the road, I'm not reevaluating and seeing what's out there. And me already knowing you're interested, it just, it starts that talk. And, as time goes, we're going to be able to evaluate and probably figure something out if possible, just as everything plays out.
Yeah, and that's one of the things like I like with our league where we have all that communication is we're not just sending out offers. And not getting any kind of reply of just a rejection or a counter or anything like that, where we can have actual conversations. Like mine and Ryan's trade, dude, we talked for a good couple of days over it. He sent it to me on, Sunday after all the games, and I thought about it. I texted him Monday. I'm like, hey man, I'm just thinking about this. I think it's a good offer, but I just kind of want to think and get some outside opinions on it, kind of think what everybody else is, says. And a lot of people are in the same boat where I was like, it's a good offer, but
Yeah.
it's having conversations with people and, hey, I have interest in this player. Like Brandon said, if we can't get something worked out today, it doesn't mean 2 weeks from now, we can't figure something else out where I might have a receiver that pops off that he might need.
Especially with bye weeks
Exactly.
and things coming up like that too.
Yes, bye weeks is where I feel fantasy football really starts. Everybody can stack their team week 1 through 4, but once week 5 starts and bye weeks start, you can't really maximize your team's output like you want to every week.
And it's rough, especially like for instance, last year, I think I had 4 or 5 players on my roster out week 10 or 11.
Yeah,
And, when you have that, you have to make something happen because you can't have every single person on your bench on a bye and hope that you're able to put together a roster that's going to be able to compete. You're going to have to make moves, whether it's, early in the season on the waiver wire or in the middle of the season with trades. You're going to have to make a move.
yeah. And it's we're paying attention to bye weeks becomes a little important because like you said, you don't want to have empty roster spots when it comes to bye week. So I try to pay a little bit of attention to it. I know we were talking about it during the Thursday night game where it's like whenever I draft, I kind of watch, at least with my first couple of picks, that I don't have overlapping bye weeks because I don't want to have one of my, 1 week where I have 2 of my top picks out on bye. But that's just, a personal thing. Me and Steven kind of got into it a little bit where he was like, I don't pay attention to that. I'm just drafting what I think is the best player available at that point. So I get it. There's different draft strategies that people put together. And, I always look long term a little bit more than I look in the short term of just getting all the points.
See, I'm a little bit in Steven's boat where I don't pay too much attention to bye weeks during the draft. But I'm looking at my team now and my top 2 running backs in Pollard and Mixon are both gone on week 7. You know what I mean? So there's a prime example of, do I trust Jerome Ford and Javonte Williams to carry me to a week 7 win? I guess it's possible, but I would rather, try to flip some of these other bench players of mine into another RB1 that I can trust to at least give me a baseline there.
Right. And, kind of like what Stephen said with, hey, sometimes I'm trading away a keeper, somebody that's keeper eligible that maybe they're an RB2 this year, but their running back 1 is on a contract year that may not come back. so that has its own value of things with making a trade. Like, hey, next year if he starts popping off later in the season, he's a keeper for you. You don't have to worry too much about drafting him high up. Like I got Damian Pierce as my keeper this year, and he was a waiver wire pickup. So things like that kind of pay off a little bit, where I didn't have to worry too much about drafting him higher up. I got him as a 12th round pick this year. So I didn't have to worry too much about having an earlier pick for a running back depth.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Very good point. You've been a part of some pretty decent trades in GSC in the past, right? And I'm pretty sure they involved some running backs, right?
I don't know if I've made trades that I can remember off the top of my head.
'Cause I thought that was you in the year that Steeler Virginity won his championship. I thought that was the big trade was between you two, or was that him and somebody else?
I think that was him and somebody else. I think that was maybe him and I want to say it was
the Kittle trade. It might have been Drax, maybe.
It was maybe Drax or maybe Bench Don't Kill My Vibe.
Gotcha.
I was gonna say, I know last year we did a Steeler Virginity and I did a trade. I picked up Sanders and sent Kittle.
Oh, it was you. Okay.
Yeah.
It shows how well I know my league, folks.
It happens. I've been in trade talks with, I think me and Drax, we get into trade talks at least every year. And I reached out to him this year about Eckler as well and see if there was anything that we could get figured out. But he was like, I think I'm good with where I'm at, understandably so.
Yeah.
That team is scary looking.
Then, with all that being said, we mentioned bye weeks and all these trade talks and things. What are your expectations moving forward? How do you see some of these things unfolding? Yourself 0-3, take the flip side, Drax 3-0. But really, if you look at the matchups moving forward, especially with bye weeks coming in, I think there's going to be a lot of upsets that happen. What do you foresee happening in the future with GSC?
I think the biggest thing that I'm overly relying on is Eckler coming back in week 6. He, like I said, he started practicing this week. So that's all good. I didn't expect for him to play this week at all. He's showing as doubtful, but he's not going to get on the field, which is fine with me. But I watched a couple of interviews. He says he's getting healthy. He's working through it pretty well. So week 6 looks like the time that he's going to come back, and I'm ready just to steamroll through everybody at that point. If I got to drop Derrick Henry out of my active lineup, which it looks like I'm going to have to, surprisingly, I feel good with Pierce and Eckler running the game for me.
I think that's the tandem of backs that I have in one of my other leagues as well. So I'm really hoping for Eckler return also.
Yeah. But other than that, I feel like I got pretty good depth at wide receiver. That's about all I've got. Usually other years I'm pretty good at running back and lacking at wide receiver. So this year I went a little bit different. So Amari Cooper is not paying off for me today, but he won me last week where he crushed it in another league. I think in the Reaper League I had him. But yeah, sometimes it's just some of these players where they keep it real close, and that's all I look for. With us being at only 2 wide receivers, it makes it a little bit harder to have that depth being usable.
Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Let's touch on that. Yes.
How did this happen? Because I feel like everybody that I've talked to, now yourself included, is all on board to go back to 3 wide receivers. Why did we ever go away from that?
I don't remember. I think it was to kind of balance out wide receivers being too dominant, because they make or break your team. So having 2 felt like it kind of balanced things out. But now that we have been doing it for now the second year, it's a little rough only having 2 wide receivers.
I think the biggest thing when I look at that build, and just to kind of give an explanation for the folks that may not know, we used to run it 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, a tight end, and a single flex. We then switched it to where we run 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and 2 flex now. So we keep some of that depth, but in my mind, I think, as a 10-team league and as competitive as we are, having 3 wide receiver slots where you have to start those 3, that gives up some space on the bench. You know what I mean? Because anybody can play that flex spot, but then, your wide receiver pool gets considerably lower. So for example, my team this year, I would imagine had we been running 3 wide receivers, I doubt that I would have been able to keep Garrett Wilson on the bench after Aaron Rodgers went down.
Right.
Yeah, you make a great point there. Absolutely. I mean, I run right now. My matchup this week, I ran 3 running backs, 3 receivers. So having that extra, or having that third receiver, I think is going to be a huge topic of conversation for us going into next season, especially knowing so many of us already are starting this conversation and we're only in week 4.
Right.
And this was a topic, I mean, I want to say after week 1, we were all talking about, should we go back to 3 wide receivers?
Yeah.
But
And
we'll see what happens throughout the rest of the year.
like even with my team right now, I'm starting 4 wide receivers. I've got DJ Moore, Amari Cooper, Drake London, and Atwell as far as like my lineup, because I don't have the running back depth to start another running back. But that's kind of what I'm running with. And I have another league that I run where it's 3 wide receivers, 2 flex, 2 running backs. And I have 2 running backs in at my flex on that league because I have a lot more depth in. So it's just kind of all depends on how you draft, what your strategy is there, and what you have available to throw in your flex. That league, I have all the running back depth with Jahmyr Gibbs, Miles Sanders, Travis Etienne, and Pollard, as far as all my active running backs. And then my wide receivers are a little bit more lacking there.
Do you have a specific draft strategy, or does it change depend on the league?
It depends on the league and how everybody drafts in front of me. Our league is hyper competitive, so I get sniped on a lot of things. Like Brandon took Alvin Kamara right in my face during the draft, and I was like, man, I was kind of butthurt about it because that's exactly where I wanted to take him. And same with Michael Thomas. He got sniped right in front of me too by somebody else. And, it happens. It depends on the league. I have some leagues where 4th round, somebody's drafting a defense or a kicker, and other leagues, it's, we're going to take a quarterback first overall. It kind of throws wrenches in things because I get really thrown off guessing over like, why would they pick a defense in the 4th round? And then I can kind of pick and choose of who I want at that point. Our league, I can't do that. I have to almost jump if I want a player, so it makes things a little bit more challenging.
I'm looking at our draft results from this most recent season. As you said, Eckler and Henry off the board for you in the first 2 rounds, then followed up by the 3rd quarterback off the board in Josh Allen. And then from round 4 to round 9, all receivers minus Evan Ingram, who's your tight end. I mean,
yep.
Your 3rd running back off the board here is AJ Dillon. Then 2 rounds later, your keeper in Dameon Pierce. So I think a solid core of running backs, but as you said, it really kind of depends. Like everything changes so quickly. Once you can plan all you want for these drafts, but when it all changes like that, it's hard to keep that strategy.
Week 1 will start and throw off your whole entire draft. Nobody expects an injury or anything like that whenever it comes to whenever you draft. You don't draft with that in mind. Some people will if somebody's like really injury prone. That's why McCaffrey fell so much last year and the year before, I think. And you'll see other players that'll do that too. But, whenever you draft somebody like Garrett Wilson in other leagues, you don't expect Aaron Rodgers to go down with an injury. And when you draft Breece Hall, you expect that whole offense is going to run smoothly. But, it doesn't always work out that way, unfortunately.
No, that's a good point.
And that's the fun of fantasy football.
So, Seven, what keeps you in it despite last year's finish and this year's start?
I mean, if it was any other league, I probably would have been like, all right, man, I'm just gonna, focus on other leagues and, make sure that they're all in. But with this league, it's a lot more fun and engaging with everybody else that's in it. Last year I kind of had a rough year all around in fantasy football. So I was like, do I even want to keep doing this? I feel like I'm doing terrible all the way around. And, with our league, because of how engaged we are, it's like, all right, $60 to talk shit to everybody in this league for another year. I'm totally with it, and to stay in something that's competitive and actually like takes focus and gives me a little bit of a mental vacation from the daily grind it's worth it to me. My league, man, nobody talks. We're all a little bit more like, I wouldn't say spread out. Like I work with, like it's me, my dad, one of my painters, and another guy that we work with. So we'll kind of talk to each other in person, but nobody else really gets all that engaged with. There's not much of a group chat or anything. I had somebody that paid the day of the draft and got somebody, the last person for that league, the 10th person, we got them the day before the draft. So it's kind of hard to kind of keep that league going. So this will probably be the last year that I run it. But I've been in other leagues where I'm just like, all right, I'm here for the year, and then I move on.
Sure. Well, I just, to piggyback on that a little bit, I want to give you a little bit of credit for last year. The final record of 6-8. Yes, you did end up in the toilet bowl, taking 10th place, but I think in the grand scheme of things, really not that bad. I mean, I finished the year 4-10. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, Steven, another rough one as well. So I think that just kind of goes to show it's really, once it comes down to the latter part of the season, Steeler virginity, Jordan says it all the time. All you need to do is get into that top bracket,
Yeah.
and you have a chance. You know what I mean? So 6-8 could definitely get it done.
Yeah. Like I'm looking at everything with last year's record and how everything played out with the playoffs. You beat me 148 to 116. You would have beaten a couple of teams that were in the playoffs last year. And then whenever I lost in the toilet bowl was 142 to 97 to Steven. And he would have beaten everybody that played that week with that score. It's, luck.
It's so
frustrating. That would make
frustrating.
me so mad. Like if I had a team that would have beaten everybody out and I'm competing in the toilet bowl, I'm mad. I am overly mad.
Yeah. That's what we call the rage quit and get Sunday covered. And I think all of us has gone through the rage quit phase.
Oh yes. Yep. That's exactly it. Beating somebody by 0.06. That's a fun moment for me with beating Seamus 0.06 on a stat correction. Is absolutely fun. And he was so mad over it, but it was really entertaining to just sit there and be like, hey man, blame Dak Prescott, not me.
I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, that was one of the more amusing rage quits. But like I said, I think we've all gone through it. And in situations like that, where your team just absolutely goes off and it really does not matter whatsoever.
Yep.
Highest
and then on the
team
flip side,
you're in the bottom bracket, so who cares?
Yeah. And then on the flip side, I had my team that was like, yeah, this is exactly where you belong with the way that you played. Because that was like the worst 2 weeks. Like the only two players that I had do anything were Eckler and Tyreek Hill. That was it. Everybody else is just kind of like, yeah, we're not showing up. It's the end of the season. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, I can appreciate your desire to keep pushing along, even with a rough start, and you mentioned trades and ads and agility within the season around your team and around other people's teams. So I wanted to pick your brain a little bit on coming into week 4. There's been a ton. Our waiver wire has been going nuts in Get Sunday Covered. So I just wanted to touch on your thoughts and see if anything stood out to you and if you had any kind of particular opinion on some of them. For example, Ryan last week or me the week before, some of those ads.
Yeah, I find it overly comical with Ryan's dropping all of his fab to get Devon Achane.
I thought it was great.
Kudos. I knew it was going to happen too. I was like, I'm just going to throw in a low bid just to say I'm here. But I had a strong feeling that he was just going to put everything on the line, especially with the trade conversation. I was like, he needs a running back. Devon Achane just
Yep.
popped off. This is honestly one of the, premier moments to get somebody that's actually worth something and he's be keeper eligible next year. So kudos for him. Fab's there to be spent, and if you get somebody out of it that's worth it, by all means. Jerome Ford, on the other hand, I don't know about that, Cody.
Yeah, I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming, man.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, like I said on last week's episode, I know it sounds like I'm just justifying my spending habits, but I feel like it bought me a win. That's
Yeah.
a 20-point game out of somebody that I spent $60 on. I improved to 2-1 on the season, and again, keeper eligible, trade capital, things like that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I caught a lot of crap from all you guys for it, so it's fine.
I mean, I can't really talk because I paid 33 to get somebody that's in an IR spot with Jonathan Taylor. So that was my big move. But if he comes back healthy and he gets traded to a team that needs a running back, he's going to make a huge difference. So I feel it was worth it. It's not paying off right now, but it could pay off later.
What went through your mind when you saw that Jonathan Taylor hit the open market?
I laughed so hard. I was like, yeah. I don't know what he was thinking whenever he did it. I mean, we've discussed it since, but that's just such a crazy. I would have never would have done that. But at the same time, with how he auto drafted Cooper Kupp and Jonathan Taylor with his first 2 picks, that's his only option. You have to drop somebody. So whenever he was retooling his entire team there to kind of fix things in that entire week, he had to drop somebody of note. It was either going to be Cooper Kupp or it was going to be Jonathan Taylor. So somebody was going to jump on either one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Seven, do you have a matchup or a rivalry that you look forward to within GSE?
Man, it's me and Stefan every year. Every year I enjoy playing him. Like last week was real close. I know I lost, but I was sitting there. I was like, I'm not going to win this. Like when the week started, I was like, I'm not going to win this, but this is like always, my matchups that I always look forward to every single year. But I hung in there 140 to 153. Thank you, Bills defense and Amari Cooper for keeping me alive as long as I was there. But, sometimes there's, somebody on the flip side that'll do the exact same thing with Keenan Allen, where he's like, oh, yeah, I see your defense and I'll raise you another 11 points. Thanks, guy. So, but that's, I always enjoy playing Stefan every year. Me and him, my first year, were in the playoffs against each other, and I beat him that year too. And then I lost the next week. But it's fun to actually compete against him because me and him used to talk relentless crap to each other every season. We both kind of chilled out, but it's worth it. Derrick Henry got a touchdown.
Yeah, like
go
35-yard touchdown nonetheless. I think.
Let's go.
And faith restored.
Yes, that's exactly it. That's all you need to restore faith in a player is just a big touchdown.
Right. I do think it's kind of cool to see the way this rivalry has kind of come to form between you and Drex and Sconce, because you're right. For the first couple of times, it was, that was some legitimate trash talk. What I mean? Obviously, wish ill on one another as a person, but in the league, man, you guys were really like coming at it hard-headed, like let's go. And hopefully we had a chance to have him here on the show to talk about it a little bit as well. But I have a feeling that he probably feels the same way. And it's been really cool, just as the commissioner and as a fantasy football fan, it's one of those matchups that I enjoy when I see coming around on the schedule. I'm like, yes, I cannot wait to see the chat this weekend. I can't wait to hear what Seven has to say. It's one of those that makes it like so fun because after you play with somebody for long enough, you get to know their habits and their draft strategy and the things that they're going to say on Football Sunday, and it's so exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit harder to talk trash when you have a losing record, but it makes things a little bit more fun at the same time because it's like if you lose to me, what does that say about your team, bud? you know. So that's what I'm here for, and that's take it back to what you said, where I like playing the heel. That's the point, If I'm losing real bad and you still lose to me, buddy, that's a world of hurt for your own team.
That's true. That is true. Well, cool, man. I think we're getting pretty close to wrapping this up. Did you have any final thoughts that you wanted to add? Anything you wanted to touch on, talk about, call your shot on somebody? Now's your chance.
Brandon, I'm coming for you. I mean, it's not looking that way, but in the Reaper League, I'm coming for you. So you better get ready to fork over Eckler in that league too.
That's all right. He's on my bench, and that is someone that I was hoping was going to come back this week. But if it happens, it happens. Like we said on the pod a little bit earlier this week. You have great potential to make a huge run. And if you can
in the Reaper League.
Yes,
Only
in the Reaper League. But if you can get some wins stacked behind you, you can make some huge moves to where even if you just squeeze your way into the playoffs, you could run away with it, no problem.
Oh yeah.
And
that was
I love the fact that we did this league. I think, I know you were the one that didn't get to draft, but I think you're having so much fun within the league, being able to make all these moves to where you're able to put together a solid roster and really see what happens with it.
Oh yeah, it puts a lot more of your football knowledge and things to the test when you can't draft. You get slim pickings at the end of the draft, and it's like, all right, is this going to pay off for me? Is this going to work? Like I picked up Mostert. That was like one of the first picks that I made whenever I went and like actually got to build out my roster. Was, hey, Mostert's going to probably have a good season. He's the only running back there right now. I'll go ahead and take him. I can't remember. I got Kyron Williams for the Rams. He's paying off. I got Achane sitting on my bench with 16 points, so that's fantastic. So you just kind of, it puts a little bit more of a strain on your team, but at the same time, I knew once I got the first win, I was like, this is going to start spelling trouble for everybody else. Because Davante Adams is definitely a big boom player. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do for me in this first week of actually having him in my roster.
It'll definitely be interesting. Now, Jimmy G he's out today though.
Is he?
He is not playing today.
He is not playing, so that might be something to keep your eye on to see how that matchup progresses for Davante without Jimmy G.
Yeah, I mean, as good of a quarterback as Jimmy G can be, he's a better game manager than he is at throwing the football. So we'll see what happens there. I'm not too worried about it because it's Davante Adams. He's almost like Tyreek Hill, and where just get the ball anywhere near them, they'll get it and run with it.
That's fair. All right, man. Well, we're gonna kind of close this out before I got I think 2 more questions for you. The first one being, have you ever seen the show Hot Ones? It's on YouTube, or like the interview with all the celebrities and stuff.
I've watched clips of it.
It's pretty funny, and you kind of get to know some of your celebrities a little bit more. We're going to steal a segment from Hot Ones here. It's where they do a social media deep dive. We found a picture here on social media. We're going to pull up, and we want you to explain it to us. So give us a little bit of an explanation about this picture.
All right. So me and the wife last year went out for her birthday. We got tickets to South by So What. And day one, just all or nothing. We were just seeing everybody. Sum 41 and Simple Plan were 2 of the headliners that we were just dying to see. We were exhausted by the end of the first day that we went. Day 2, we kind of relaxed a little bit and went a little bit on the celebrity hunting, trying to find some of the artists to meet and everything. And we got to meet Mod's son there. So pretty cool time meeting him. That was back whenever he was dating Avril Lavigne. The first thing I said to him was, hey, what's up, skater boy? And I got a pretty good laugh out of him.
Nice, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very cool. So you're a big music guy then, yeah?
Oh yes, love it.
Sweet. Well, that's cool. Yeah, we were not a lot of embarrassing photos, and the ones that were, I didn't feel like you'd probably want them to have it here on the pod. So we just thought we'd share that and get a little explanation. But I think that's really cool.
Yeah, man. I try to get rid of all the incriminating pictures and the embarrassing ones. You know, social media lasts forever at this point, and I can't have my daughter seeing stuff like that when she gets older.
No kidding.
Seven, I got one last question for you. So I see you have a little bit of a collection of Funko Pops.
Yes,
So
sir.
tell me a little bit about that. What do you mainly collect? You know, I see you have some signature ones here. Just kind of tell me.
So I've always been a nerd. You know, I always like comic books, anime, stuff like that. And I didn't used to collect it, but it's only been past couple of years where I really got real heavy into them and stuff, and just kind of ran away with it. I've got almost 200, I want to say, and my collection's worth 3,500. You know, that I've spent over the past couple of years. I don't pay that much for most of them. I've got a couple that I've spent, top dollar on, and other ones where I'm like, I got to steal on them. They've gained value. I've got some football ones. I've got Von Miller, Michael Thomas, a couple of Drew Brees. I've got a Luka Doncic one. You know, it just varies based off of what I like, and if there's certain players, like there's an Alvin Kamara one that I want to grab at some point too, and if I like a player, if I like a series or anything like that, I'll pick it up. And if I ever get a chance to meet like the voice actor or anything like that, that gives me something for them to sign other than a jersey or something, that I can put up, and it's like, hey man, this is what I got. I got to actually meet that person. So something for me to look forward to.
Nice.
Sweet.
I love it.
Anything
All
else
right.
from you, Brandon? I think I'm all wrapped up.
Yeah, I'm all good here. From my end, Seven, anything you want to say to the people before, we wrap this up?
It looks like I'm about to collect my first win here, boys. I'm up 98-29, projected to win.
Let's go.
Let's get it. So I'm
That's
out here
awesome,
crushing
man.
it this week. Everybody's popping off the way they need to, except Amari Cooper.
See, hey, prime example. This is why you stay involved. You don't give up despite an 0-3 start. You got to stick with it.
Exactly.
Well, Seven, thank you so much for joining us all the way from Texas. Our resident Texas man that's a fan of a New Orleans team. Awesome to see you, man. I hope you have a good rest of your day. I'm glad you were able to get your Sunday covered. But we will talk with you later for our week 4 episode.
Let's get it, boys.
Don't
Take care,
forget,
guys.
like, subscribe, comment, and don't forget, if you have any Get Sunday Covered questions, drop us an email or a comment within our channel, and we'll definitely address those within our Commissioner Corner. But otherwise, hit us up to get your Sundays covered.
Peace.